In the meantime, I'm going to read some announcements. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. You're welcome to send any questions either before the meeting or after. And so we have a couple updates. The Interstate 70 construction continues. The website link is in the agenda. The 39th Avenue Greenway construction continues, although it's supposed to be wrapping up soon. And we do have Ryan Crum here tonight with the city to kind of talk about that. And then there is a bikeways meeting coming up on September 30th. Cole is actually getting multiple new bike lanes, one down Bruce Randolph. They're extending the Williams bike lane, and I believe they're talking about extending the bike lane up in Gaylord as well. That's to be determined. So if you'd like to participate, it would be great to see you at the open house. I didn't have, or sorry, it's my apologies. We will not have a DPD crime report tonight, although I'm happy to talk about any crime in the neighborhood and contact DPD. I wasn't able to contact DPD in time enough to get them to come to the meeting. We will definitely have them at the October meeting though. And with having said all that, if you're in and ready, Michael and Will, I can hand it off to you guys.
Okay, Michael?
Yep.
Mike, I'll be right there.
Okay,
Michael,
no worries.
Michael's calling you. Let me just give him the number.
Sure. I think he's in. I see a, oh no, maybe that's someone else. Never mind.
Is that? Okay, hold on. Michael? Okay, dial, here, dial 312 626 6799, and the passcode is going to be 050664. Yes, right. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Excuse me for the technical difficulties here. Michael Miura from Urban Land Conservancy is trying to dial in right now. But why don't we go around just who's here in our development team? I see a couple people. And why don't we introduce ourselves? Tim, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tim Welland. I'm with Palisade Partners. We are one of the co-developers for the Tramway-Cole Train Redevelopment Project.
I'll go next. I'm Sarah White. I am also with Palisade Partners.
And we've got Mark Marshall.
Yes, I'm Mark Marshall. I'm Vice President of Real Estate at Urban Land Conservancy, and ULC is the owner of the Tramway property.
And I should say Michael Miura from ULC will also be momentarily on the call. He is manager of neighborhood relations and oversees the Cole neighborhood for Urban Land Conservancy. My name is Will Kralovic. I am president of JJK Places.PBC, which is a public benefit corporation, a social impact real estate development company, and co-developers with Palisade on this project. Why don't we start? We'll wait for Michael can catch up with us. Just want to give everybody a update. We had appeared before this registered neighborhood organization back in June, I believe June 13th, and a lot of activity has taken place since then. So I wanted to give everybody an update where we are. Essentially, just a little background for those that weren't in the June meeting. This is the tramway, what we call the Tramway-Cole Train Development Project. It's the site that's a vacant pad behind the Tramway Nonprofit Center on Gilpin Street between 35th Avenue and 36th. As Mark Marshall said, Urban Land Conservancy, which is a nonprofit organization, owns the land and will actually retain ownership of that land for essentially the next 198 years. There'll be a ground lease that the developers have signed or will be signing for 99 years with an automatic 99-year renewal. What this does essentially is allows Urban Land Conservancy as a nonprofit to be stewards of that land and ensure that it retains being a community asset for essentially the next 200 years. We, the development team, were awarded this project, the rights to build on this land from Urban Land Conservancy after a 7-month RFP process, request for proposal process. As Tim mentioned, co-developers are Palisade Partners and my company, JJK Places.PBC, along with the landowner, Urban Land Conservancy. And then our design team is headed up by Chris Carvel of Christopher Carvel Architects. To give you an update of what has happened since June, we completed our development agreement with Urban Land Conservancy, which is both, as I mentioned, a long-term land lease as well as the development agreement. We are now about a month ago, a little over a month ago, we submitted to the City of Denver Community Planning and Development what they call a concept review plan, which is a very conceptual plan to basically start the conversation with them about zoning and parking regulations and code enforcement and all these good things. So that's presently in the process. Let me pull up actually and show you disable participant screen sharing. I think Mike Dugan, I think you need to, it says disabled screen sharing. Okay.
Give me 1 second here. Will, I'm going to make you a host and then pass it back to me.
Okay, no problem.
You should be good.
Okay. So here's just a couple slides on the project, just to give everybody an orientation. The area that will be the development site is where the former tramway workshop or repair shop had been located. The remaining tramway nonprofit center, the L-shaped kind of white roofed building, will remain, and we'll just be building in the that gray area with the red square around it or rectangle around it. This is essentially the concept plan. Essentially, it's pretty much a rectangular building that'll front the Gilpin as well as 35th Avenue. And then there'll be what I call the courtyard of the building. We'll have approximately 55 parking spaces to service the building. This is the ground floor. There's commercial space. We originally, and this is still in flux, as I say, this is a very concept plan. We're debating whether the other half of the ground floor will be residential units or commercial space. As many of you no doubt aware that with COVID and whatnot, commercial retail space and office space is very hard to rent right now. So the residential is actually a less risky venture for the economics of this project. Again, we're going to be working on some numbers and deciding which is the best route to go. And what's particularly interesting that we wanted to show you is there's actually what we call a paseo in here, kind of an alleyway between the existing building and what will be the new building. The idea is to activate this paseo, which I'll talk about in a minute, that there'll be the opportunity to put we're looking at, and with community feedback, we want to hear potential uses of the ground floor commercial space. But one idea is to have some sort of food and beverage establishment, a coffee house, if you will, that faces this paseo to really create a community hub and a public space for gathering outside as well as inside. One of the things we're going to be doing is assembling a community advisory group to help us decide a number of projects, a number of components of the project. We're looking to try to keep the size of the advisory group somewhat manageable with 10 to 12 people, with including the members of the development team, ULC, our design team. That leaves the opportunity for about 6 to 7 community members. We're going to be touching base not only with the Cole Neighborhood Association, but with a number of other neighborhood organizations to try to recruit members and come up with a list of people who are interested. If you are interested in becoming part of that advisory group, Mike Dugan has a copy of a very simple application that we're going to ask people to fill out. And there's an email address on that application. So just get in touch with Mike. And he can
I'll make
send
sure we post it to our social media and website as well.
There you go. And just to give you an idea of the commitment, we're looking at probably holding between 4 to 6 meetings over the next 6 to 9 months with the advisory group. Probably be about an hour and a half, maybe 2-hour meetings each time. And one of the primary roles we want to enlist the advisory group is to really take the information that we discuss at the advisory group meetings and go out into the neighborhood, use your network to spread that information throughout the community, as well as then elicit feedback that you can then bring back to the advisory group and help us to make decisions on a number of the components. This is just a copy of the application, very simple application. And then here is, in particular, the components. There's about 6 main components that we really want community participation and input on. The zoning of this property is pretty much set in place, which restricts kind of the design aspects. As I say, it's going to be a pretty rectangular building, a 4-story building with 3 stories of residential that we right now hope is going to have a large component, if not all, a component of for sale affordable condos, and then the ground floor retail commercial space. And so here are, as I say, 6 components really helping us get some community input with the exterior facade materials used, how to best use and fill the ground floor commercial space with community serving uses. We want to overall create this project as a real community hub for Cole and Northeast Denver. As most people are aware, Cole is actually the last neighborhood in Denver that doesn't have a coffee house in it. We'd love to be able to bring that to the neighborhood and use that as a hub that's welcoming to all people. And then in addition, how to activate the paseo, the outdoor gathering space. We also want to have a community created cultural arts placemaking event that creates some sort of public art project for the public space. And then one thing that we feel strongly on is the naming of the project. We feel that developers always come into other people's communities and name the project, and we'd like to actually potentially run a contest of some sort to come up with some appropriate names and that are both culturally and socially sensitive to the neighborhood. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions or comments. And I don't know if you've gotten any, Mike, there.
I just shared the application with someone, but nothing on the chat so far. But anyone who wants to pipe up, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question.
I should add real quickly, just to kind of give people a timeline, idea of timeline of the project. As I mentioned, we're currently in the concept review. We're going to be responding to the first round of comments that the city has come back with and resubmitting that probably in the next couple of weeks. That process, the whole permitting process in the city of Denver right now is taking up 9 to 12 months. We're hoping that maybe that we can get that shortened, but that's a typical permitting process and review process. So really the start of construction on this project will be somewhere around the beginning of 2022. And then construction typically is about 18 months. So we'll be seeing the project completed in late 2023. For those that are interested, we'll be starting to market the sale of the affordable condominium units sometime around probably late next year, so late 2022, and starting a wait list of and really trying to market this at first to residents of Cole or residents who have been displaced in Cole and want right of return. So,
sure. We're getting a couple questions in through chat, so I'm going to go through them as they came in. The first one is, how many units?
It's still to be determined, but we're looking at plus or minus about 50 units, 50 to 55 units at various sizes. One of the things we kind of heard from early community outreach is the need and the desire for more family-sized units, i.e. 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units. Right now, we are looking at actually about half of the units being 2- and 3-bedroom units, which is pretty unusual for a residential project, a multifamily residential project. But these things we're in conversations with the city and various subsidy sources right now. So the unit mix will be determined once we get the subsidy and funding criteria set in place.
Okay. The next question I have is, how much commercial space is contemplated? And I think it's a two-part. How is parking going to work for the project given there's residential and commercial?
Yep, good question. Right now, there's about, this is about 6,000 square feet. This is about 3,500 square feet in this, I should describe it for those that are on a call. On the kind of north side of the, there's a rectangular building with right now a lobby for the residential units that kind of bisects the middle of the building, if you will. The commercial space on the north side of that lobby is around a little over 6,000 square feet. The space south of the lobby that, as I say, is either going to be commercial space or potentially ground floor units is about 3,500 square feet or so. So right now in the building, the ground floor is about 9,500, a little under 10,000 square feet of space.
Got it. Okay. And the second part was that, are you going to specify how the parking is used? Is it general purpose or?
Yes, the parking will generally be, it'll be shared between the residential and the commercial. Right now we've got at least one space per unit is one of the criteria we want to ensure. And then we'll most likely be doing a parking on-peak study that will reveal how much space is allocated for the retail during the day when people aren't parking in the parking lot.
Okay. The next question I have is, what other outreach are you doing to solicit participants?
Good. We are going to be, as I say, with the Registered Neighborhood Organization. Here we're putting it out there. We're going to have it most likely on probably on my website, on Urban Land Conservancy's website. I'm not sure if Palisade has a place on their website, so they can have it. We're also going to be contacting through Michael Miera, who I guess hasn't been able to get on the call. I apologize for that. But Michael,
if you, we could hear Michael fine before on your phone if you want to call him back and put him on speaker, just so he can participate.
Okay.
I owe him an apology. I don't know why it's not working. So, but if you do want to call him back, that way he can kind of chime in.
Yeah. I mean, Michael is as I say, is manager of neighborhood relations for Urban Land Conservancy. He has been working for a number of years. For those that don't know Michael, he was previously with the Office of Economic Development for, gosh, about 25 years, working with neighborhood organizations. And he'll be actually putting this application out to a number of different Cole and Northeast Denver neighborhood organizations. I think.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, this is Mark Marshall with ULC. Yeah, Michael's working with a number of our tenants in the Tramway building who also have outreach capabilities, Wide Elementary School, and as Will mentioned, a number of other community groups in the not just the Cole neighborhood, but adjacent neighborhoods as well.
And I should mention one of the things with the advisory group, we're going to be holding these meetings in a public forum. So anybody is welcome to come and just listen in on the meetings. You don't have to necessarily be part of the advisory group to, you know, to be part of that, those discussions.
Great. So our next question is back to parking. Why does there have to be so much parking? Can there be less parking?
You can take this one, Will, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Sarah from Palisade Partners. So the short answer to this is it's a city code requirement. I don't know if anyone here knows the difference between the old zoning code and the new zoning code. The new zoning code has a lot more flexibility to respond to parking demand in a kind of a more modern way, but this site is still zoned in the old zoning code, which actually has a lot more parking requirement than the current zoning code. So that's something that we are still working through with this concept and trying to figure out how to effectively park the project while still maintaining city standards.
Do you have a financing requirement for parking?
Tim would know that answer. I don't believe we do.
No, generally with financing, we've been able to get lenders on board with shared parking arrangements, and the CMX, which is, you know, most of the more commercial areas of the core are 75% parked for residential units. Mm-hmm. So lenders are very comfortable with that. Sarah, we did another project where we have a really extensive shared parking program, and we haven't had any pushback from lenders. You know, we hire a third-party consultant that reviews the parking timing and the parking needs at various hours of the day, and kind of lets you know if you're meeting the demand for parking at all times. And so, armed with that, lenders are usually, you know, pretty much on board with the plan. One other thing I did want to mention, you know, it kind of looks like, if you look at the plan, and as Will said at the top, all this is, you know, still in pretty early stages, but we do plan some sort of screening or you know, wall of, you know, that looks nice, obviously, in that off of 35th Avenue where you'd be pulling into the surface parking. So something to kind of screen that so it doesn't look like just a giant parking lot beyond. So that should hopefully allay a little bit of the concern about a surface parking lot in the area.
Sounds good. Okay. The next question that I have is the commercial going to be for sale condos as well, or for sale at all? I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's, I think what the question is getting at is, well, the short answer is to be determined whether it's going to be leased or rented space, or condoized for sale commercial space. We have looked at both options, and I think Palisade is definitely open to discussing the option of potentially selling space to, and I should say our desire really is to fill all the space with kind of a synergistic selection of community serving, either nonprofit organizations or kind of social impact organizations, even a coffee house. We'd like to get something that's social impact, socially conscious, so yeah. So it's open at this end, whether at this time whether we'll be leasing the space or condoizing it and selling the space.
Okay. Are the trees along Gilpin going to be preserved?
Generally, yes. That's actually a requirement from the city forestry department, that you, especially with mature trees, that you make every best effort to retain the trees that are there. Sometimes you can't help but take out 1 or 2 trees because of the construction equipment and that sort of thing. But the desire will be to preserve them as much as possible, and also to, as you can kind of see, preserve the wide tree lawn that currently exists.
Great. Next question is, what price range do you expect to see the condos go for? We've got 3 or 4 more questions left, so we can wrap up in a minute or two here.
Okay. And we figured that was going to be an interesting question. It's still to be determined. We're looking at, and for those that understand AMI, or area median income levels, we're looking at units underwritten right now at about 70% AMI level, with marketing to 70 and 80% AMI. This specific number or cost of units hasn't been determined yet. So we're still underwriting that, again, depending on subsidy levels and that sort of thing.
Okay. So the next question is, could a small row of parking spots be converted to green space or a community garden for the residents?
We'd love to. I think as Sarah said, the parking is driven by zoning and code. And it's very hard to change that. So there will be some islands, actually, landscaped islands within the parking. But right now, we probably don't have the opportunity to do that in the parking. Whether or not something could be done in the tree lawn, but that's city right away. So
Sure.
I'm not sure whether that would be possible.
I'm going to jump down one question and then I'll go back just because it's relevant to what you just said. So is ULC considering a rezoning process for flexibility with the parking, or are you sticking with the old zoning? Or still to be determined?
No, we're sticking with the current zoning, and for a number of reasons. Right now, the zoning process, rezoning process, actually takes a considerable amount of time. We want to get this project, get it going as rapidly as possible. Plus, a rezoning would really, it would get us some allowances, some credits that are used for parking. But there are actually 2 existing agreements regarding height and setback that would potentially be nullified upon a rezoning. So we wouldn't really gain that much.
Okay. And then the last question I have, and feel free if anyone has anything else they want to ask before we wrap this up. And this has been talked about a lot. I think it even may have been mentioned in a possible city plan from a long time ago. Someone says, I'd love to see the strip of East 36th Avenue between Franklin and Gilpin Street turned into a park or promenade with no motor vehicles. Is there any way to make this happen? I understand you obviously can't control what's happening in the public right of way, but are you willing to kind of bring that up to the city and talk about what their plans are for that area? I know it is in some plan somewhere. It
is, and I know there's been talk. There was even some talk we had early on with Councilman Elvis Brooks. The idea would be essentially creating more of a plaza. You couldn't actually, because of the building here and because of Wyatt, you would still need to have access for fire trucks, for example, to get through. But you could essentially block it off with say removable ballards. We're more than willing to talk about that, and we'll probably at a point once we get the permitting and approvals for the rest of this, possibly bring it up. I think Urban Land Conservancy, I think when they bought this property back in 2002, 2003, that was one of the visions of trying to connect this property to the Wyatt Academy property. So I think people are more than open to talking about it. Great.
And so there was one quick question. It was answered in chat, but I'll read it right now. When are you anticipating breaking ground? And Tim responded, goal for groundbreaking is next summer, fall. So unless we have any other questions, we're going to wrap up this part of the meeting. Did you want to say anything else, or is any other announcement from the team before we push back? Or
no, and I'll just throw out there, we have an email set up now. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free. That email is info@tramway-coletrain.org.
info@tramway-coletrain.org.
Yep.
Got it.
So feel free to send any questions or comments to that email, and we will get back to you.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. And Will, could you pass the host back to me, please?
I will. Okay.
Thanks everybody for joining and for the very thoughtful questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Did you get that, Mike? Is it back to you?
Yep. Looks like it's working.
Okay.
Ryan Crum, are you here with the city?
I am here.
Hey, good to hear you. So if you're ready, we can jump into any updates we have, or you might have on the 39th Avenue Greenway, or soon to be called Cole Clayton Greenway.
Cole Clayton, yes. I was going to see if I could turn my video so you can at least see me. There we go.
Sure.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. We're getting close to wrapping up, as you guys have seen out there. We're getting close to that point of figuring out when we can start taking down all the fences across the project and basically have it opened up for everybody. And there's been a couple of just setbacks and things like that. We were hoping to do that in October. It's more looking like we're hoping November, but due to weather, we may not do a big kind of hurrah ceremony type of thing this year, just with weather, but we would definitely be publicizing and trying to get everybody in the community to come out and use the facilities and partake with everything, and turn it over to you guys in your neighborhood. So a lot of those details haven't been finalized. We're trying to figure that out. But we're also thinking of, what are socially distant events that could occur out there. We've thrown about the idea of maybe trying to do some drone flights and kind of interview project team members and maybe some community members, and kind of put together a video that could be shared instead of like a ground opening type of thing with people that could actually, come out. It'd be kind of more of an event online similar to tonight. So those are ideas we're kind of kicking around. I think in the short term, we're going to try and get the multi-use trail from maybe about High Street to the east in a better place where we can open that. So we have, there's a lot of vegetation around there. So we're trying to be diligent in how we can open it, but not incur a bunch of damage. So we've put up a bunch of yellow rope along the side of the multi-use channel to help people stay on the path and protect the vegetation as much as possible. But it's kind of a give and take on that. But I think that's what we're looking at on the sooner time frame, is getting some of the multi-use channel open, or pathway open. And then basically from the Williams over to Franklin would be, 60 days or so, where we're still under construction with our guys parking trucks out there and, doing punch list items and things like that. But we're getting to the point where we're going to be taking the fences down and opening it up and kind of having it a part of the neighborhood again. So we do appreciate everybody's, support and bearing with us through the construction. It's not been fun. We know that. And that's kind of why we're kicking ideas around of how to get you guys involved in some sort of opening ceremony in some way or another. So that's kind of a general overview of where we're at. I'd be happy to ask any other questions. If you guys have any specific things, you could voice chat them or type them in, however Mike sees fit here.
Yeah, feel free. If anyone has questions, speak up, please, or type in the chat.
What are the parameters of vehicles driving on the Wunderif?
Wunderf? What do you mean,
Wunderf?
Danny?
Well, I'm still listening to my audio phone, so I'll be talking to you soon.
Oh, sorry, that's Michael in the background. I'm going to mute him. So, Danny, can you clarify that question?
Well, perhaps if he chimes in. So there's the shared street. I assume he is speaking of. Yeah. So it's a shared street. So the area on the north side of the new channel, just south of Rock Drill, which is from Franklin to William Street, we've called it a shared street. But yes, it's Wunderif. We stole the concept from Europe, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does have other acronyms or names for it. So that's one of the areas that we still have vegetation and things to get in, some of the planters through there, and there's a couple of punch list items with some concrete. There's also the benches, swinging benches that go into the shade shelters that need to get put in there. So we're trying to keep this area closed off as well. There's also a couple of ADA issues that we would like to get addressed before we fully, take all the ropes down. But the parameters, I guess, long story short, is there's very minimal signs here. And if I was faster on my computer, I would show you some design drawings, but a lot of banding of concrete. And what that means is that there's a lot of dark to light colored concrete that changes every 5, 10, 15 feet. And then we also have planters that are kind of in the drive path that move vehicles left or right as you're driving. And so the idea is we did not want to create a straight shot drag strip. So we strategically placed planters with trees in them and other things to prevent the eyesight, to slow cars down. And then the banding also is another visual aid that kind of makes people uncertain about the path in front of them and makes them drive slower and be more cautious. So the idea is really we want pedestrians, we want bicycles to use this area, but if FedEx needs to come through or a delivery truck or whatever, or somebody's moving into the apartments there, we want to allow vehicles to travel there. So hopefully that answers your question. Long-winded, but very good question.
Ryan, do you know if that area has a posted speed limit or speed limit signs kind of near it or along it?
So there is 3 signs. I don't remember. It's designed for 15 miles per hour.
Okay.
I think there is a miles per hour sign, but don't quote me on that. I believe there's 3 signs on each side, just talking about it being a shared street and slow speeds. When you look at what Europe is, they don't clutter their streets with signs either. So that was part of what we're doing. And again, the city and our transportation department is really using this as a first shared street in Denver. So if modifications need to be made, we're fully willing to do that, right? So if we need to add more signs in the future, that's not a big deal. We're trying to do this as minimally as possible to create a good lesson learned, you might say, for other shared streets in Denver, right? This concept was thought about pre-COVID, and once COVID hit, other parts of the city are now doing this, where we're removing vehicles from the right of way and creating pedestrian and bike friendly things. So it just kind of got expedited in the city's process of tools in the toolbox, you might say, for pedestrian, and the Vision Zero is a big part of that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions? It's kind of quiet. I was expecting more. I've got plenty of questions for you, Ryan, but I want,
well, keep going.
They're particular. Well, a lot of them are about my business specifically. But yeah, so does the city actually have, I'm curious from a, do you have a deadline for when roads are reopening yet, or is that still somewhat in the air? You kind of touched on it earlier and you were saying maybe November now. I'd heard September 31st and then October 31st, and I'm just wondering if there is a deadline.
Yeah, so I think some of those dates are thrown out. So we were looking at the end of September was when we were looking at. We are pushing that. Well, it's not official yet, but I think the direction we're headed is to give them an extra 30 days here, which would give them to the end of October. I think as far as your question of opening roads and alleys and things like that, we're looking at opening everything, especially east of High Street. We're going to have open at the end of this month, I think is the goal for the multi-use path and the roads. So the alleys around High Street and then the shared street will probably drag out into October. I would assume that we would beat the end of October. But again, it's really addressing a lot of the last minute items, getting plants in and, you know, a lot of the touch up work and things like that at this point. That the major stuff is completed. So hopefully that gives you a better idea, but there will not be, we don't know what dates yet. So we're talking with the mayor's office.
Yep.
We're trying to make sure that we can, we really do want to vocalize this and publicize it. We want people to come out and use these facilities as soon as possible. And the contractor wants to get out of here just as bad, right? They're spending money. So I think it's in everybody's interest to hurry up and get across the finish line.
Okay, great. I did have another question come in. So I know there are trash cans, but is there going to be trash service? And I know you shared, I can actually share this with the rest of the neighborhood, but I have a draft maintenance plan. I believe that specifies when they're picking up trash, but I just wanted to have you kind of talk about it. I'm assuming the city is regularly maintaining the park.
Yes. Yeah. So O&M on something like this is very tricky. This is definitely above and beyond our standards. What we have, so the first 3 years of the, after we give substantial completion, the contractor is on board for most of the O&M, except for trash service. Excuse me. Parks will be maintaining the multi-use pathway or trail from the get-go, and that will be where the trash cans are located. So as far as snow removal and trash pickup, that is what they will be doing day one. As far as the frequency of that, I believe it's a couple times a week. It's whatever a normal park gets serviced, this is considered a park, and they're going to do the same thing, even though it's bigger. But when it comes to picking up debris or trash that's in the channel, that's really more a partnership between Denver and the Mile High Flood District. And so they're the ones that will be picking up the trash on that. And again, that's got a, I want to say bi-monthly frequency on it, and things like that. But the contractor's on board for the first 3 years, where we can evaluate what the contractor is doing and modify our O&M plans going forward if we need to.
Great. Let's see if any other questions. I'm trying to think of what I want to ask that's relevant. What else do you want to tell us too? I mean, obviously you've said a lot and we're still not sure how the city's going to advertise it. I'd love to be involved in, helping get the word out, get the Zoom meeting out, let people know when the park is going to open. I'm just surprised there aren't more questions or concerns from the community, or just even excitement. Kind of, I'm sure people are ready to use it, or people basically are already using it. So
yeah,
ready to use it officially.
Use it officially. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing graffiti, a lot of graffiti out there, which is unfortunate, but specifically from Franklin to York Street is really green. And I'm surprised at how well things have taken off there. York Street is the new bridge there. And then we created the new 39th Avenue street from York to Steele. So, this is mainly a drainage project, but we did, with the multi-use in this new road, create a lot new multi-use features here. And I guess I could also tie into some of your announcements from earlier with William Street, the bike lanes, we're getting ready to stripe those. So that is a separate project, the William Street bike lanes, but we've been coordinated and those will go through our project. So it was supposed to happen. The snow kind of messed it up, the
Sure.
timing on that. And you know how scheduling on those kinds of things goes. But anyways, I think over the next week or two, we're going to have that striped. And then we're looking on opening up Williams as soon as that gets striped. So at least
Great.
Williams will be opened back up, and then there'll be the bike lane throughout there. So that's going to be great. There's the trash vault on the High Street, trash vault in Steel Street, which is intercepting the water underground. So our idea is to, while we're improving water quality, it's also to help make make this greenway more maintenance friendly and not become an eyesore. So there's a lot of things that we've built here. A lot of this stuff is buried underground, and yeah, so we're excited getting to the crossroads here of turning it over and letting you guys enjoy this. I don't know if you guys are seeing some of the park features, but I'm excited to see what the kids think about some of the stuff, because there's some really there's a new concrete slide. There's a lot of water features, sand, and just a lot of things that if I were a kid, I would think was really cool. And I bet the kids really enjoy it. So I think it'll be great for the community to have that out there.
Great. Yeah, no, I'm sure everyone's super excited. That park that little nature play area there is great. I can't wait to see people using it. Well, if there aren't any other questions for Ryan, we're going to wrap up this part. So I'll give it 1 second to see if anything comes in. But it sounds like everyone's just ready for this to open. We're excited.
Get out of here. Go away. Yeah.
And as I always do here at the end of the meeting, we have a neighborhood announcement / open mic. So anyone is welcome to speak up with any announcement they may have, and I will pause for that.
Hello, I'm Gerald Hamill. I live in Cole at 35th and Vine. And with My Outdoor Colorado Cole and Vive Fitness, this Saturday we're doing a harvest share. It's 6 parks in 1 day. In Cole, we'll be having movie night under the hedge at social distancing seating will start at 6 p.m. And the movie at dusk, the youth from Grasp will be doing that. And at 4 to 6 in Cole, we'll be having an Encouraging Hope scavenger hunt for messages in a bottle, but there will also be for the community Philly Ice food truck, which is one of our partnerships. And from also Cole is George Morrison Park. That's going to be the Vive Wellness outdoor experience that starts with an obstacle course that families come in one at a time, go to a resource part, then kind of the fitness. Parks and Rec is bringing the slack line, and it ends at 30th and Humboldt with a lot of different, it's kind of like a outdoor amusement park to describe that one. That one we have an online registration because of social distancing. It's limited when you can come in, but there'll be Nell's barbecue and What's Cooking, along with produce from Seeds of Power Unity Farm. We've purchased some produce to distribute that's right there at the farm at 37th and Humboldt and Cole. Frontline Farming, Dahlia, and there'll also be a food pantry distribution. I think I've posted some flyers, and maybe it was a Cole neighborhood private group, but we start at 10 at 30th and Lafayette, which is Dr. Hill with Macam, Make a Chess Move. The community-based organization I work for will have a giant chess set from 10 to 12 with kids. We have like some stilts for them to kind of walk. If they know how to play chess when the group comes in, or we'll teach them what the pieces mean. And then at 11:30, we'll have a Tai Chi class there. There's a run, the Red Line run, that starts at 10. And at 12 to 2 in Madam C.J. Walker by Red Shield at 30th and Hyde, there'll be a boxing fitness class. And Struggle of Love will be doing their Sacks of Love food distribution. I can email a flyer to someone to send. I know that's a lot.
Yeah, please do. Email it to our cna.denver@gmail or info@coledenver.com. They both go to the same place. I think actually I might have missed one. So I think you actually already did email it to me, but I will make sure it absolutely gets posted on all of our social media, and I will add all that information to the agenda.
Okay, and it was cna.denver@gmail.com?
Correct.
Okay, I'll email you the two new, Vive have been signing up people. The big one really is just that 3-block long outdoor experience kind of part that's really a lot of fun. It's wonderful to be able to bring things in the neighborhood. Harvest Share has been at Russell Square for the last 3 years, but next year we'll be able to do 6 parks in one again. And I think in the summer they may be looking to do, with My Outdoor Colorado, those 3 parks in that route. And one other thing is, I've been a part of the Walking Whittier Farmers Markets. The Whittier Neighborhood Association piloted, we did together August 8th and just did one last weekend. The next one is October 10th. And Cap McBride and Alex on the board definitely want to include Cole. If Cole want to sign up, be part of the map that goes out, then we just have this huge walking thing.
That'd be great. I'll contact Alex for sure.
Yeah, definitely to be part of that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And we do have a couple announcements in chat. So Danny posted the link to the Harvest Share Facebook event. And then we have another announcement that there is a QT-BIPOC film series, October 15th to 18th. It's a celebration of QT-BIPOC filmmakers, creatives, and artists. We're looking for collaborators and uplift local BIPC-owned businesses. Find tickets and get in touch at qtpocfilm.com. All are welcome. And if we don't have any other announcements, then we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for attending September's meeting. I'll see you next month. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.